2/3 of Cherokee Nation citizens reside outside the reservation boundaries. That's more than 300,000 considered to be at large. Osio Nagad, Jennifer Lauren Dawado. Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer Lauren, Cherokee Nation citizen and host of Osio, Voices of the Cherokee People, and Senior Director of Cherokee Film. Welcome to Chalagi, wherever we are. Our at-large cousins represent an ever-growing interest in learning, practicing, and participating in Cherokee culture and traditions, even though they don't live here in Northeastern Oklahoma. Many come home to visit relatives, to tour our museums, to volunteer their time, or to glean what they can of their ancestral culture and to connect with their tribe here on the reservation. Others seek out services and benefits to deal with the ever-rising cost of living, or to further their education, or they may be searching for opportunities to return home to Oklahoma after generations away. Today, we'll explore potential solutions, opportunities, and resources available specifically to at-large Cherokees. We'll start today's show with remarks from Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr. Then Chief Hoskin will join me to talk a little bit more about the benefits available for our at-large citizens and things that they can take advantage of from far away. After that, we will see an interview led by Deputy Chief Bryan Warner with at-large Councilor Julia Coates. Next is our panel discussion, where we'll welcome at-large Tribal Councilor Johnny Jack Kidwell and Jessica Lewandowski, Manager of Patient Experience at Cherokee Nation Health Services. And finally, we are excited to have the oh-so-talented Agalasig Mackey with us to perform one of his new Cherokee songs. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. for his remarks.
Osio, today we're here to discuss the remarkable efforts Cherokee Nation's government is making to expand services and support to citizens nationwide, particularly those who live at large off the reservation. We're committed to serving all of our citizens. Now more than ever, we're doing more to address the needs of Cherokees regardless of where they live, hence the name of this series, Cherokee Wherever We Are, which began nearly 3 years ago. I'm excited to share more information on the remarkable strides that we're making in enhancing educational funding, healthcare accessibility, cultural learning and preservation, as well as fostering a new awareness for volunteerism opportunities. Our CCO-organized communities across the country enable so many Cherokees to stay connected. We have about 25 organized groups and more on the way. These groups offer camaraderie and a place to network and socialize with other Cherokees. Deputy Chief Bryan Warner and I have worked with at-large Councilors Julia Coates and Johnny Jack Kidwell to boost funding and engagement with these at-large organizations. In addition to our annual gatherings, at-large organizations host staff and artists, as well as history and cultural experts for presentations throughout the year. This includes our new Cherokee Nation History course and in-person language instruction, along with an array of other opportunities for attendees to reconnect with what it means to be Cherokee. Funding for at-large organizations is also on the rise, with at-large organizations making use of annual support as well as community impact grants. These funds help at-large organizations build capacity and build membership and make a positive local impact. Now, we recognize that not every at-large citizen has access to our CCO-organized communities. However, with a computer or a smartphone, most Cherokees can enroll in some kind of language lesson offered by our experts at the Durbin Feeling Language Center. I encourage all Cherokees to explore these online language courses. They're fun and educational and help us stay connected to our culture. Education lies at the heart of progress and empowerment for our people. Through Cherokee Nation scholarships and the Cherokee Nation Foundation's funding, more at-large citizens than ever in history are able to pursue their academic dreams. The Deputy Chief and I, along with the Council of the Cherokee Nation, have prioritized expanding educational opportunities for all Cherokee citizens, regardless of where they reside. Right now, over 1,000 at-large Cherokee citizens are on a Cherokee Nation scholarship, and that number just keeps growing. Cherokee Nation has also taken strides in improving healthcare access for its citizens nationwide. The pandemic taught us that telehealth care can be effective, and we're doing more in that area. We also recognize that many citizens return home to get services directly from our award-winning health department. To make those trips more productive and effective, we've created a team of healthcare navigators. These staffers provide crucial assistance in navigating the complex healthcare system. On top of that, we've expanded the availability of eyeglasses, hearing aids, and mailed prescriptions for at-large citizens who use our health system. In addition to education and healthcare, Cherokee Nation places immense value on the spirit of volunteerism and community service. That is embodied by the Gadugi philosophy. To further this ethos scale, the Cherokee Nation has established the Gadugi Corps, a pioneering initiative that encourages Cherokee citizens to engage in volunteer activities that benefit other Cherokees. That includes community projects and nation-building endeavors. Gadugi Corps volunteers have the opportunity to contribute their time and skills to meaningful causes. It will foster unity, pride, and a collective responsibility mindset. At-large citizens will have a special opportunity under Gadugi Corps. The program will work with at-large Cherokee organizations to bring at-large citizens home to engage in short-term Gadugi Corps volunteer work. Through innovative approaches, Cherokee Nation continues to thrive and inspire other Native nations across the country. As we move forward, we will continue to support the programs and services that uplift our at-large citizens and create a more inclusive Cherokee government for all of us. Widow.
Widow Chief, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to explore this topic, the services and programs available to our at-large citizens who we hear from a lot at Cherokee Film and OCO TV. So 2/3 of our citizens reside outside of the reservation. Would you share with us how meaningful it is to have so many opportunities like this program to communicate with them?
Well, the reason that I have a sense of how meaningful it is not just because I'm chief, but I've traveled at large for now 10 years in the different positions that I've held. And what I have gathered from visiting with our at-large brothers and sisters is that there is a real hunger to connect with the Cherokee Nation. Many of them moved away years ago, and some of them, their families moved away generations ago, and yet they're drawn to the Cherokee Nation in some way. The way that we have engaged, I think, with our citizens, and it spans a lot of different platforms and ways. OCO TV, very popular with our at-large citizens. Yay. This show, yeah, absolutely, and this show has really connected with our at-large citizens, and so that, I think, helps bring the Cherokee Nation to them. And then as we travel and bring our gatherings at large, there's a real connection when we're able to expand some programs and services or some ways to connect culturally with the language or to reconnect with learning about our own shared history. That, I think, fulfills Cherokees, no matter where they are. But if you live away, sometimes it seems so far away, so disconnected. But we're in an age now where I think Cherokees really can get what they really want inside, which is some real connection with their people. And I think we're delivering that more and more.
Absolutely. So I understand there are 25 CCO participating at-large nonprofit organizations throughout the United States. And you mentioned the Gadugi Corps, which is a way these groups and individuals are involved in their communities and the Cherokee Nation. So would you care to elaborate on that program?
Well, the Gadugi Corps broadly is an opportunity for volunteerism and national service in the Cherokee Nation. So it can be simple volunteer efforts that are structured under Gadugi Corps or more substantial national service efforts that span weeks or months. We're developing that program, but we're starting to implement it now. The vision of how to connect that with our at-large brothers and sisters really is just building on at-large community organizing. We've talked about the 25 organizations. Those started long ago, decades and decades ago, and this idea of connecting those at-large organizations and their members back home, there's lots of ways we can do it. We talked just a moment ago about how we reach out to them. Many of them want to come back, so how can we facilitate that? I can remember many conversations with Julia Coates, one of the at-large council members, and her thought was, could we bring them home for some meaningful effort either to preserve culture or to help people in the community? Gadugi Corps really is the answer to that. So here's how it will work as we develop it. The at-large organizations will have an opportunity to sign people up to come home, say from a California organization, and maybe there's a project in Greasy where we're working on the community building there. They could come here for a couple of weeks, really roll up their sleeves, literally, and work on some community projects, help an elder, do any number of things that the organization's interested in doing here in the reservation. And then I think that builds that sense of community that spans the geography. We have the resources to do that, the Cherokee Nation. We've got, more important than the dollars, we've got the human capital, the people in these organizations that want to get it done. We're just going to facilitate all of those hopes and dreams.
How cool. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. Okay, so I have gotten the opportunity, thankfully, to travel to several at-large gatherings, and I've met a lot of citizens who are so connected to the culture and so knowledgeable in our history and our traditions. It's really quite impressive. And so now, under your administration, at-large citizens have gained more services than ever before, but many still want to know why they don't receive every benefit a citizen living on the reservation receives. So can you respond to that today?
Yeah, these are really good and important questions, and really things we need to talk about. And we talk about them a lot, as you can imagine, at-large gatherings, particularly one-on-one talking to citizens. First of all, here's how far we've come. We have expanded and extended more services than ever at large, but there is a lot that is not extended. The Cherokee Nation is a government with a geographic territory, our reservation, and so it's not unusual for governments to serve within those borders. That's not all that's going on in terms of answering this question. A lot of the resources that we have, even as prosperous as we're becoming, are federally funded sources of revenue and other types of funding. The federal government always, and I'll say this plainly, fails to meet its obligation on a range of issues to which it's obligated: housing, education, healthcare. Every year it's underfunded for the Cherokee Nation and other tribes. We put our resources on top of that to try to make sure our health clinics can be fully staffed, to make sure that elders in the reservation get access to housing programs, and to make sure we have opportunities for kids to get an education, and as they grow up, get job training and go to college if they choose to. Those federal dollars, though, are really stopping at our border and don't go beyond our border. Sometimes there's a misconception that, well, you get a certain amount of money, Chief, for every single Cherokee. It's just not true. The world of federal funding is more complicated than that, but it's certainly not tied to our entire population. What do we do about it? How do we expand that? As Cherokee Nation has developed its business enterprises, more diverse, more profitable, putting all those dollars back into programs, services, and job growth, I think what people can see is we are expanding services. It's not as quick as many people would like, including the Chief, including me. But the reason we've got a record-setting number of at-large citizens going to college on a scholarship, it's not because of federal funding. That money is essentially zero. It's because of the tribal funds we're putting forth. We're talking about on this show efforts to reach out on the subject of health care. That takes resources. The government of the United States is not paying for that. We're paying for that. What I want at-large citizens to think about is we've come a long ways in the last few decades. We're going to continue to make progress, but a lot of the limitations are really tied to those federal funding constraints. And then to the extent they're tied to Cherokee Nation budgetary constraints, the good news is our budget continues to grow, and we continue to listen to our at-large citizens and their representatives on the council. We continue to try to make strides, but there are constraints, but we should be talking about these things. I'm glad we are here on this show.
Yeah, and I think that for those of us who get to spend time with you and the leadership at Cherokee Nation, I mean, it's obvious that you really care about being able to talk about these things and help however we can. So we appreciate that. So those organizations that we talked about, they typically have large annual gatherings where they meet with you and other representatives of the nation, as well as they have face-to-face opportunities to get to renew their IDs, talk to other Cherokee Nation organizations that provide services like education. So these gatherings, as I understand and have witnessed, have grown so large in numbers these days. What do you attribute that growth to?
I think it's a mix of things. I mentioned it before at the top of our discussion here, but I really do think the virtual outreach, the OCO TV program, so popular with our citizens and beyond. This program is reaching out. It was really born of an effort to reach at-large citizens during COVID-19. That's part of it. I think the increase in programs and services is part of it. I think in particular, citizens are seeing a way to reconnect in a real meaningful way with their culture and heritage. People who live outside the Cherokee Nation invariably want to learn more, and they want to do something for their tribe. That's what I hear, and that's good to hear, and we're providing those opportunities. I think as long as we provide those in-person opportunities, a history class, a language class, a chance to meet with your elected leaders, get your photo ID, and we continue to deliver this online content, this virtual content, I think we're going to see those numbers increase. But it's really amazing to me. Our recent at-large gatherings have seen 500, 600 people. We've been to some where there's been 1,000 people. It's really remarkable. I think it is a measure of the strength and health of the Cherokee Nation that citizens are engaged. And as long as we, I think, provide this sort of opportunity, the citizens are going to come out no matter where we go in the country.
That's incredible and heartwarming, and we're all one big family, so I think everyone has a feeling of acceptance at those events, and that extends through this program as well. Principal Chief Hoskin, my friend, I again appreciate every opportunity to hear your insights into what's going on with Cherokees, not only here on the reservation, but throughout the U.S.
Thank you, Jen.
Wado. We now join Deputy Chief Bryan Warner as he sits down with at-large counselor Dr. Julia Coates to discuss the ways she is able to serve her constituents.
Wado, Jen. Well, Sio to God. Hello, everyone, and it's an honor to be here today with you. I'd like to welcome a longtime Cherokee counselor, author, adjunct professor, historian, Dr. Julia Coates, with us today. Dr. Coates, thank you so much for being here. Serving that as you have in the capacity you had. I know you've learned a lot along the way of what works, what doesn't work, how can we all kind of continue to work together. You serve such a vast group of citizens, our Cherokee at-large citizens. I want to say well done to you for stepping up to the plate and doing this. For our audience today, I think it might be helpful since some of these Cherokee communities have been organizing for a really long time. Can you kind of take us through a little bit of timeline and give us some of that history of organizing in our Cherokee communities at large?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. First of all, I really appreciate it, and it's exciting to talk about this subject. And one of the first things I want to do is just to acknowledge that before we, Cherokee Nation, and the people who were first involved in this ever came in, there were Cherokees in certain areas of the country who were organically forming organizations already. So this has been a dream that a lot of people have had for a long time. And so I want to acknowledge Deborah Scott and other people who were in Houston and formed an organization in the early 1990s, Bob Leach and other Cherokees in Albuquerque out of the 80s, Jim Crouch, Rob Wood in Sacramento. All of those groups were going strong, were existing before we ever showed up on the scene. And so they kind of provided a bit of a model, but I knew how much work they had done just to get people in their areas organized without resources of knowing who people were, where they were. And I thought, well, at the Cherokee Nation, we have that information, right? And so we can begin to use it and to go out and to help with additional organizing efforts. So we really launched this in late 2006. We started planning. And previous to that time, I had been teaching the Cherokee Nation history course, which was implemented by our former Principal Chief, Chad Smith. And he had asked me to take this out on the road, and I was thrilled to do that. And so with that, we had kind of a built-in base already of people that we knew were interested, because if you show up for a 40-hour course over 2 of your weekends, that's a pretty deep commitment of your time. So that seemed like the natural place to begin and the people to start with, and it proved to be the case.
Well, that's wonderful. And I always admire the way that you remember these individuals, the names that you've already mentioned in some of these areas. That's something, because you've taken something from them that helped you be able to be a conduit, if you will, to finding that overall, that Gadugi, that spirit of continuing to work together. Now, in your opinion, how has today's technology, whether it be social media, other aspects of technology, how has it helped us? And also too, we always understand that Cherokees like to fellowship. We need that contact with one another. So go ahead and give me those points.
Yeah, well, it's unquestionable that it's, programs like this one we're on right now, just to make things like this possible. And I know thousands of people watch it live, and then others watch it later. And it's, so to have this kind of a following and to be able to explore different topics in depth is just amazing, you know, for people to be able to watch these and think about things. The social media that we have at the Cherokee Nation, the Facebook pages, the at-large page on the website, you know, there are a number of different things that people can take a look at to understand what's going on in their area, their neck of the woods, or even if nothing is in their area, they can still participate, you know, and engage through social media. So all of that is very, very important. And obviously we have been able to do much greater outreach and to really expand with it. But I really appreciate the second part of your question, because I think it's something that we have to continue to be aware of, is that even though all of these tools are out there and they're wonderful, people still have to come to us. And to me, that's kind of the thing that we continue to struggle with sometimes. And so I think that's one thing that the old-fashioned direct mail, you know, just getting a couple of things out in the year, and here's a list of all of our online places, you know, and just put this on your refrigerator or whatever. But some way to keep telling them we're here, you know, so that they don't have to go online and search too much. Those are things that I try and keep in mind. I think there is definitely a place, and a great place for the technology.
Absolutely.
But not everybody is is incorporated into that.
Well, and you know, you bring up a good point. I'm one. I love the fellowship with people, and that direct contact, whether it's a short period of time, whatever it is, it's very meaningful. And you know, for our audience today that may not get to go, we have a full slate of at-large community meetings, and it's some twice a month, most once a month, and we get to go at all these places. You know, tell me, let's tell the audience today what they might see if they went to one of our at-large community events or something, that what they could be expecting.
Well, it's an opportunity. I think the thing that people really come for is the chief.
Yeah, right.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
And so the chief will speak, and he'll share everything about what's going on currently in the Cherokee Nation, and then everybody else will as well. But he's the one that really gets the attention.
Yes.
Beyond that, the opportunity, because you and I have both seen him stand there with a long line forming and take the time to speak with every single individual who wants to talk to him, take pictures with them, have lengthy conversations with them sometimes, have somebody beside him who's taking notes about things that we're going to look into for that person, so on and so forth. And so it's really a great opportunity to be able to network with the people who can make some changes.
Absolutely. Well, and you know, and they come in and they get to, you know, I think of all the different groups that travel with CCO or group that they set up. Education will be there. Typically, you might have somebody from Talking Leaves Job Corps. Might have a Pam Bakke. She's always a staple with her crafts and different things, a storyteller, some things. So I know those are very outstanding times that we get to have with our at-large citizens.
And Robert Lewis.
Absolutely. No.
The crowd favorite.
Oh, always. He just has a way of really bringing when fellowship is hard to find sometimes in certain places where people just don't, Robert Lewis has a way of really bringing it all around and getting everybody involved.
You feel like when you're listening to a storyteller that you're listening, and that's kind of a passive role, you know, but Robert turns it into something else.
He does. He makes you very active.
He engages, he brings people up, and it's a very active thing.
No, it's good. Well, you know, you serve alongside Councilman Johnny Jack Kidwell as the other at-large. I mean, it's a vast group of people when you talk about at-large citizens, and I want to applaud both of you for the efforts for advocating for more services to the at-large, whether it was you know, looking at on the healthcare side of being able to find some navigators for at-large citizens to help find those services that they may be eligible for. Also too, Dr. Coates, very fond of our conversations that we had around what has now become that Godoogie Corps. Can you Can you elaborate on any of the progress, the things that we've made during this time, looking at it from this term that you've served?
Yeah. And just to go back to the last thing we were talking about, those are also two organizations that are at our meetings every month,
yes,
right? The
yes,
Patient Experience
yes,
Team,
yep,
the Gadugi Corps, and,
yes,
and they are some of my favorite initiatives. They really are. I think that, and I don't know how much people know about it, but it's probably worth just mentioning briefly. Yes. Again, the Patient Experience Team is a central office where at-large citizens can call and get health information for either their region of the country, or if they are going to be here on the reservation for a visit or something, and they want to visit any of our clinics or our dental clinics or anything like that, they can work with the Patient Experience Team to get their appointments set up, because that's sometimes a difficult thing to do. Months in advance.
Yes, it is.
And so that's very, very helpful. The Gadugi Corps is a volunteer corps. I have long believed that when the at-large citizens are approximately 2/3 of our citizenry nowadays, that's a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, a lot of experience that we need to make sure gets drawn in. I think that the example of the Patient Experience Team is something that one way that I hope that we will continue to expand is to just replicate that over and over and over, not only in terms of healthcare in certain areas, but get to most areas around the country, so that we've got a database, we've got some kind of a resource that we can offer to people, because we're not going to be able to provide healthcare to all at-large people.
Right.
But there are state agencies, there are federal agencies, county agencies, and tribal agencies in many areas that can.
Yes.
And so who are they? Where are they? And then to replicate that same kind of thing, whether it's in housing or food assistance or whatever it may be, so that, well, we're not going to be able to pick that up for 2/3 of the tribe, not immediately anyway, maybe somewhere down the road.
You bet.
But there may be somebody who can, and we can direct you to them. And so I think just, making sure that we know where the resources are in all of these different areas is something that could be very helpful. And it's a way that our at-large organizations could get involved too, because they know what they are oftentimes, or if they don't, they can find out.
Dr. Coates, I can't thank you enough, and I know Chief Hoskin wanted me to tell you, big Wado for standing up and being that advocate that at-large citizens needed, and being that advocate for Cherokee people really on the reservation and off the reservation, because what you're talking about is being able to come in and continuously work together with people and knock those rough edges off and find that smooth stone there that can make the biggest difference. So,
well, if I could say one last thing in terms of advocacy and everything, this nation needs its at-large citizens. And I have always firmly believed that without them, we're not going to be as strong as we could possibly be.
Yes, ma'am.
And so this is not only an advocacy for the at-large citizens, it's an advocacy for the Cherokee Nation.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And that's always a pleasure.
Well, again, we want to thank Dr. Julia Coates for her time today. And now we must get back to the studio to Jennifer Lauren. Jen, it's all back to you. Wado.
Wow, that was an incredible interview with one of the longest serving elected officials. Wado to both of you for your support for Cherokees wherever they are. Now it is my pleasure to introduce at-large tribal counselor Johnny Jack Kidwell and Jessica Lewandowski, manager of patient experience at Cherokee Nation Health Services. Wado, for being here and sharing your time with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Of course. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in, because I know a lot of our viewers are going to be very interested to hear how they can get more involved. So, counselor, let me ask you. Many of our viewers may not have a sense of who exactly attends our at-large meetings or who signs up to join an at-large organization. So understanding that all of our citizens are unique, in your experience, what generally motivates our at-large citizens, and maybe what keeps them coming back, and what are they interested in? Yeah,
interesting question, really, because many of our at-large citizens, obviously, as you already said, they're very, very unique, but they so many different people. All of our community groups we want everyone to sign up for those community groups. It's very important that they all play a role, and that they have that sense of gadugi, that sense of working together. And it's important because they all are looking for that sense of being together, right? They all want to spend more time together, and that's what Cherokees like to do, right? We like to
Yes.
we like to eat, and we like to fellowship. We like to do these things, and we want them doing that. And because whenever we try to expand benefits and resources, and as Jessica will speak to later, even healthcare, we go to these community groups first, and we try to use the community groups as force multipliers, so as to speak, to be able to reach more citizens in those local areas. And that's why we have so many, and that's why we have more that are applying to be official community groups. So we encourage all of our citizens, if you don't have to get involved in those community groups that are close to you, to understand the resources that the Cherokee Nation can send out through those community groups, and play an essential role in being a force multiplier for us as the Cherokee Nation, and the Tribal Council or the executive branch, or even the studios and films and those types of things. We want them to participate as much as they possibly can, and we find that they're looking for that. They really truly have a desire to be involved, and that's helpful to us, right? Because we want them doing that.
Absolutely. Jessica, as manager of the patient experience team, can you explain to us what services you provide to Cherokee Nation citizens, both in the reservation and at large?
Absolutely. So the patient experience team is a unique program for our tribe, and I think it really makes us stand out when compared to other healthcare systems. It actually came about through advocacy and support from Cherokee Nation administration and our counselors. And our two primary objectives are to improve experience and satisfaction for CNHS patients and increase access to healthcare for our at-large citizens. And Cherokee Nation leadership right now is continuously expanding those programs and services that at-large citizens are eligible for. A couple examples of that include the hearing aid program and eyeglass program, which at-large citizens can benefit from by visiting our healthcare systems. Our patient experience team for at-large citizens can help coordinate your appointments in an efficient manner. So whenever you are traveling away from home, your time is efficient, and you're away from home at a minimal amount of time. We do know that travel is not always an option, so we also collaborate with other tribal healthcare facilities to identify care options that are closer to home. Essentially, we're your ally on your healthcare journey, and we're here to help answer any questions you may have and provide that individualized assistance.
Wow. That's so unique, as you said, and it seems like it could be really helpful and an amazing benefit for our citizens. Councilor Kidwell, what is the easiest way for an at-large citizen to get involved with an at-large organization? And second, if you don't have the good fortune to live near one of our at-large organizations, are there other ways to connect?
Right. Yeah. As we mentioned before, it's very important for those citizens to be connected, and we understand that's a need across the board. We get those calls every day, all day. One of the easiest ways is to go to our CherokeesAtLarge.org website, and on that website you will see a list of communities and with their contact information. So any of those citizens, wherever they might be, hopefully they live close to one of these communities or live within driving distance. All of that contact information is on there. You can go to my websites, or my website that I put out. You can go to us on social media. That's a great way to do it. The CCO has obviously social media. I have social media. Dr. Coates, she has social media. So we do our best. As you mentioned before, the at-large, we're basically everywhere. So yes. We have to be ready to answer questions and engage in different citizens wherever they might be, whether it be from Canada to Japan to Oklahoma City. So there's a lot of us out there. We like that. We enjoy it. We love to communicate with them. But the websites are the primary way. I would say that if they can get to the website, get to CherokeesAtLarge.org, go through that, because then they can engage in more civic duties as well, whether it be helping us seat the delegate, all right, go to seat the delegate, or whether any other any other civic thing that we can have people apply to. It's all listed on those websites as well. So not just the community groups, but ways to engage, because being part of a community group is a big thing. We enjoy that, and we like that, but there are other ways to engage with the Cherokee Nation and use your citizenship in a more powerful way socially.
Absolutely. And I know you and Councilor Coates are always advocating for citizens who live at large. So I know you guys are always communicating with our folks out there.
We sure try to.
Yeah.
Sure try to.
Yeah. Jessica, before you mentioned the patient experience team, so how does someone go about receiving assistance from them? Absolutely. So the first step is reaching out to our team, and we can be contacted by phone or email. Our phone line is 539-234-CARE. That's 539-234-2273. And our email is health@cherokee.org. And from there, we will follow you along to work on obtaining whatever goal it is. Every situation is unique, and so that's how we treat all of our patients. And our team is really passionate about what we do, and no question is too big or small, or we're happy to help with whatever assistance our citizens may need. That's great. So the email address is health@cherokee.org. And then, of course, a phone number, which is great because not everybody has, the tech skills to get on and send emails. So that's really great. Counselor, what has your experience been in representing 2/3 of Cherokee citizenship, roughly 300,000 strong? That seems like a pretty monumental task.
In one word, busy. Busy. That's the first word. I had no idea the enormity of the job whenever I first came on, and while I love the work, I love the job, I love connecting with Cherokee citizens, and I like being their voice on the tribal council, or at least one half of their overall voice. Luckily I work hand in hand with Dr. Julia Coates, who you've already spoken to, and she is amazing, and she's taught me a lot along the way as well. We work very well together to try to get to as many citizens as we possibly can. And I've always made this promise, and it rings true today. If you spend the time to call me and leave me a message, I will call you back. It might not be in working hours, it might be after, but we make every effort we possibly can to get back to everyone, because to be their voice on the tribal council is important to me, and I know it's important to her, and we take it very seriously. And it is an enormous job. It is busy. There's a lot of travel. People don't understand. We're trying to get to all these 25 different community groups every year for at least once, on top of everything else. So, we enjoy it. It is a busy job, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica, all of the information you have shared has been very useful, I think. I think everybody out there will agree. Can you share maybe a real life example or a story about one of our citizens who's been helped by your team? Of course. There's so many unique situations that come to mind, but one that stands out to me in particular is we once had a father call us because his daughter was in need of a specific surgery that was going to cost thousands of dollars at a non-tribal healthcare facility outside of the reservation. And so whenever he reached out, our team worked with our medical staff to verify that procedure was within our scope of service. And we then worked with the family to establish his daughter as a patient, and then provided the next steps that they would need to take to get the appropriate referrals for the care that she needed. And the assistance that we were able to provide in that instance provided a lot of relief to the family. And that's always our goal. We want to make the process of navigating healthcare as simple and seamless as possible. And our team, I think, really goes above and beyond to achieve that. That's great. So when you say to get the referrals that they need, does that mean that they would actually be seeing a physician or someone within our health system? Yes, so what that process would look like is we would work with their external provider that they were previously seeing to obtain their medical records. And then from there, they would see a Cherokee Nation Health Services medical provider to receive a referral for the surgery or whatever treatment that they were in need of. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for explaining that. That's pretty cool, I have to say. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers love hearing about all of this. And that is all the time we have. So that's going to wrap up our conversation today. But Wado, thank you to both of you for coming and sharing your expertise and your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we welcome back a rising Cherokee musician. Agalisig Mackey, the Chooge, is here to close us out by performing another one of his original Cherokee language songs. Take it away, Chooge.
So, my name is Agalisig Chooge Mackey. I'm going to sing for y'all a song called Lewandowski. Means I'm going to leave. Lewandowski, Kohia, Cherokee, Lewandowski, Asenjadanto Nestali, Higea, Lewandowski, Jidegin closer in, Skigeusa, Jiskino Selain, Julskid, Ostasi, Tustanela in, Aseno, Askoski, Awanta. Goa Florida geso, at least quadante disti, aseno, askich sanwugation. The Canadian Jidestana in a dahi wugesa in Kasatan and Dagadu the lacing. The goose the gaily he left the alwaysly all one time. The girly teasing Jija Danti Usa Kohigan Jigesa in the Garnigisi, the Garnigisi, the Garnigisi, Kohia, Julaski, Gisquatan, Luodu, Jacata, Asenjadanto, Nestali, Higea, the Garnigisa, Higea.
Always great to hear his music. I love it. Well, that is our show. Thank you so much for joining us again to listen in on these important conversations. We will have an all-new show next month, and we look forward to welcoming each of you back. In Cherokee, we have no word for goodbye because we know we'll see you again. We say, Doda Daggle, Ha'i, Wado.
The Farm and Food Workers Relief Program seeks to mitigate the financial impact the COVID pandemic may have had on the farm and meatpacking industries by providing a one-time $600 payment to eligible workers. The program is open to citizens of federally recognized tribes living within the United States. Tribal citizens need not live within reservation boundaries to be eligible. For more information, visit ffwr.cherokee.org.